And we're continuing with the 11th chapter of The Embroidered Sunset by Joan Aiken. Nice to be out walking in the rain once more. Rain rather heavy, but road so familiar. Must have been this way hundreds of times, thousands of times, coming home from high tops, from picking bayberries or juniper or bogbean, fern or ragwort or broom tops. Dill would be walking along too, taking turns with heavy basket, or at home with fire and tea ready. Oh, Dill, never mind that place, really not bad. May get accustomed to it in time. Good air, grass outside, windows. Own familiar country. Own cottage would be better still. If only could eliminate worry about that other one. But how? And now worry about Taffypuss. Can't really be Taffypuss, can it? Almost sure, almost, that Taffypuss died, but never having seen him dead can't be utterly certain. Keep thinking about him, dreaming about him. Suppose that other one came to High Beck and hurt him. Can't bear the idea. Different with Dill. Her poor stiff hands reaching out of stream. Dreadful, but at least a certainty. Whatever she went through now, she's safe. Happy can't be harmed any more. Suppose that would be true of me, if that other one did get me. Safe at last. Queer. Never looked at it that way before. We'll have another think about it in a minute, when over the top of this little rise. Need breath for breathing, not thinking. Rain coming down very heavy now. One thing. Have good thick outdoor shoes on Lucy Child made me buy in Kirby. Worried, very worried about Lucy Child at first. Didn't know whether to trust. Such a queer light and jangling sound coming from her like something out of tune. Then, turned, came clear, trusted her. Happy, very happy, like own child, like with Dill. Paul's child. Queer when you think of Paul. But he had that music in him. Must have had something good about him. Then with Lucy Child, suddenly trouble. Light went murky, out of tune, as if infection caught from that other one. She got over it again. She'll get over it again, won't she? Village now. No one about, rain pouring down. Beck will rise, fast if this goes on, specially as weather coming down from more. Probably been raining there all night. Have to hurry, get to cottage in case Beck rises over bridge. Luckily no one in village, weather too bad, neighbors might fuss. Worry, try to keep me from going up. Suppose Lucy Child will worry when finds I'm gone. Wrong to tell her I'm about her father, upset her. Good little thing, really. Like him. More like her mother, more like me. We'll tell her so and see her next, only a little thoughtless sometimes. Should have gone to see about Taffypuss for me. Must have known how worried I was. Track off High Beck. 2 men passed me going quick. Strangers, didn't say anything. Know every bend, turn, rock in this path. Taffypuss would always come down to meet us hereabouts. Hazel bushes, mountain ash, holly. Lucy Child, fretful because of that piano man, perhaps. Would have to meet him before deciding whether trustworthy. Foreigner. Better if she stayed with me and Taffypuss. All 3 happy together. Now where were we? Thinking about death, that's right. Not much of a problem, really. Maybe no problem at all. Here's ash stump, not covered yet, so bridge will still be clear. Beck very high, foamy, beautiful dark brown peat-colored water. Dark red-brown like garnet stone, rushing along, rocks in middle, all covered, only showing its sides. Track steeper than I remember. Was it always so steep? Have to stop and take breath. Hedge-cutting tractor, parked up there, foolish place to leave it. Lenny Thorpe always lazy about taking back to barn. Inconsiderate. If we wanted anything delivered to High Beck, van couldn't get up track. But suppose everyone knows cottage empty now. Past old parsonage on opposite bank. Kind Edward Linton. Pity he took on drink. Wonder why. Past church. Opposite bank turns to cliff. Then round bend in Dean. Past tractor. 2 men sitting in cab. Queer. Suppose waiting for rain to stop. Having lunch maybe? No one I know. Nod to them. Same 2 men who passed? Strangers. They don't nod back. Now climb up onto wooden bridge. Slippery slats hold tight to wet wires either side. Water rushing along underneath like dark red ink. Across bridge, very slow, very careful. Down stone steps. Now climb up to cottage. Call. Puss, puss. Taffypuss. He doesn't come. But then wouldn't expect cat to be out in all this rain. Probably sheltering somewhere in shed under bush. Better go into cottage. Wait for rain to stop. But what about that other one? Suppose he came. Not likely he'd come out in such weather. Anyway, hadn't we just decided not afraid of death? Not afraid of death, no, but awful sudden fright of being grabbed, pushed, throttled. Yes, can't help it. Still very much afraid of that. Now look, Dill would say. One thing at a time. Mightn't be so bad. Anyway, we're thinking, getting very wet. Let's get under porch roof. Undo coat, dress, find key and little bag. Queer, door not locked. Can Lucy Child have left door unlocked that day she came? Not like her. Lucy Child very careful. Reliable on the whole. No, lock broken. Somebody else been here. That other one? Don't loiter in porch wondering. Go in, into kitchen. Nobody about. Dear, dear little house. Sorry to have left you. Are you pleased to see me? No one in the scullery. Taffy puss. Upstairs. Taffy puss. Downstairs again. Oh! What now? Said Gates. Tie her up, said Harbin. Something in her mouth so she can't call out. Yes. Now fix her in the window seat, looking out. Half a minute. He walked outside, recrossed the swaying bridge, and halted by the tractor, turning to give the cottage a critical survey. Then he came back, saying, That's okay. You can see there's a person sitting at the window, enough to make anyone curious. Can she move? No, I've tied her to the knob of on the shutter. Gates giggled. There's a poem about something like this. The highwayman came riding, along to the Dog and Duck, where Bess, the landlord's daughter, the landlord's black-haired daughter, was waiting. All right. Have you finished? Hurry up. We'd better get back to the tractor. If you ask me, said Gates, rather aggrieved. I spent my time in jug, a sight more profitably than you did, acquiring a bit of culture instead of brooding for 18 years about my missing right flipper. Want to pull up? Lucky this tractor has an enclosed cab, otherwise we'd be getting pneumonia and pleurisy. Of all the places to wait. Have you seen the driver? Have you ever driven one of these jobs? Said Harbin. Sure, easier than a car. All you have to remember is to keep it on an even keel. They're top-heavy. Why, what's the idea? Harbin was frowning, peering through the downpour. Somebody else is coming up the track. That's a complication. It isn't the one we want. Lucy, seeing the tractor still parked where it had been last night, left little PHO down at the bottom of the haunted lavatory and walked up the track. The beck was shouting now in a spate, a hollow tenor roar quite different from its usual clear treble. Rain had increased to what must surely amount to a cloudburst. Can't bring the old girl back in this. Have to wait in the cottage till it eases a bit, if she's there. Hope to God she is. Light a fire, maybe? I wonder if there's any dry wood in that wash-house place at the back. Still, the rain can't go on long at this rate. She dragged the hood of her duffel coat well forward, sank her chin in the collar, and hurried past the tractor. Annoying place to leave it, up on the bridge. Good Lord, the stream was high. Already washing over the transverse wooden slats. With so much water pushing against it, the bridge was dragged downstream into a bow shape that shook and swayed under the impact of the great rolling eddies. Do I cross or not? Thought Lucy. She stared up at the cottage on the opposite bank of the Dean, and thought she saw, but it was difficult to be sure through the cataracting rain, a white face in the kitchen window. She pushed back her duffel hood. Yes, surely that was a face. Aunt Fennel? Sitting at the window, silly old juggins. She had got there and now didn't like to start back. Well, I don't blame her. I'm not a bit enthusiastic myself. However, here goes. Taking a firm hold of the wire rail on either side, she moved slowly, carefully, step by step over the jiggling, rocking, slippery slats, marveling, as she had before, that the two old ladies could have used this insubstantial-looking affair as their only access to the village for so many years. I suppose they just stayed home in bed. Suppose they just stayed home in bad weather, eating own eggs. Baking own bread must be stronger than it looks, I suppose. Frankly, this rusty wire looks as if it were due to part at any minute now. Wonder if the onus is on the council to keep it up, or who looks after it. Does somebody splice in a new bit of wire from time to time? Oh, well, at least I'm halfway across. Before she heard Behind her she heard a strand of wire snap. A resonant twang was audible, even above the rush of the stream. The slats underfoot parted on her left and tipped sharply downstream. Instinctively, Lucy dropped to her knees, putting most of her weight on her hands, grasping the wire rails. The left-hand rail gave. It pulled away from the post on the farthest bank, and, flying back, struck Lucy in the face. She was swung violently backwards against the right-hand rail, but only for a second. The water, grabbing at her back, threatened to force her under. The bridge was now hanging at a crazy tilt by one rail and one wire. Lucy, up to her waist in water, struggled to turn round and face the cottage, clinging with both hands to the right-hand rail. The sag of the bridge was such that it was going to be like climbing a ladder to get to land. Duffel coat off, too heavy if it comes to swimming. Swimming! This beck is only a foot deep as a rule. 10 feet at least now, when I'm the Prince of Wales's fiancée. Kick shoes off too and try to curl your toes over the edge of the slats. There's no other way to grip. The second wire holding the slats in place parted. This time there was no sound, for it broke under water, but the remaining section of bridge under Lucy's feet sank and vanished. I'm done for, she thought, swept under, still hanging on to the last wire rail. She felt a snap behind her, and was whirled and rolled by roaring mounds of brandy-colored water, filling her eyes like blood, swamping and smothering her. Something struck her, a tree or rock. She felt the wire bite into her hands, but clung on frenziedly, kicking out, swimming on her back, her side, her front, as the wire thrashed and the water buffeted. Now I know what it feels like to be a salmon. I always hated watching Willoughby battle with some fighting, grasping creature. To her astonishment, she hit the bank. One shin crashed painfully against a rock. Her toes dug among stones. She thrust herself upward, still hanging on to the wire, which apparently was still moored to its post. Her head came above water. She found a foothold rock and crawled out, coughing and shaking, rubbing beck water from her eyes. Dear Max, that was a great little adventure. I'm really sorry Adnan wasn't here. He'd surely have had himself a whale of a time, even better than the Big Dipper. What times we live in. Proposal before lunch, nearly drowned before tea. Now I come to think I haven't had any lunch. Wouldn't have minded some of that beef stew. Now then. Is that Aunt Fennel at the window? You'd think she'd wave or come out. And those men in the tractor. Why, for God's sake, didn't they do something instead of sitting there watching me drown? Wondering where her duffel coat would come ashore, Lucy started to drag herself up the bank. Fiona came to the front door of Wildfell Hall, looking harried. Yes, she said. Who did you want to see? Well, both my niece and my aunt, I guess. Wilby gave her a winning smile. And both called Miss Culpepper, as it happens. I'm afraid you're out of luck, Fiona said briefly. Neither of them is around. Really? Oh, sure. He looked patently disbelieving. Would you mind just having a look to make certain? Surely they wouldn't have gone out in this weather. She gave a bleak glance past him at the teeming rain. Just the same, they have. Your aunt was discovered missing at lunchtime, so Lucy went after her. That was about 3/4 of an hour ago, but we don't know how long she's been gone. Missing? She'd gone out on her own? Why didn't anybody see her and stop her? Have the police been informed? Not yet. Lucy thought probably old Miss Culpepper had slipped back to her cottage. Time to get in touch with the police if she's not there. It all seems very careless, said Wilby disapprovingly. Look, Mr. Culpepper, I'm taking care of this place more or less single-handed at the moment, with a couple of part-time girls. If you've any complaint to make, just wait till the matron gets back, would you? She phoned not long ago. She'll be back sometime this evening. No, that's quite all right. I'm not blaming you, my dear, he said hastily. No, I guess I'll just nip along to the village. I expect little Lucy was right, and the old lady went up to her cottage. She and Lucy will be sheltering there till the rain stops, most probably. So I'll go up too and give them a big surprise. I'm sure you will, said Fiona coldly. She shut the front door and returned to the kitchen, where Emma Chittick had taken down the electric beater and was contemplating it thoughtfully. No, Emma, it's not scrambled eggs for tea. Sardines on toast. You're getting a thing about that beater. Put it away, for goodness sake, and fetch out the tin opener. Mrs. Marsham will be back after tea, and I don't want her to find the place all in chaos. Her son's died, poor woman. Oh, her son died, has he? Emma showed no sympathy in the fact In fact, there was a note of satisfaction in her voice. Maybe now she'll have some notion of what it's like when your best friend's put out in the world sudden just because she didn't lick somebody's boots. A taste of her own medicine wouldn't hurt Mrs. M. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Oh, do stop being so biblical, Emma, and give me a hand. I'm worried about Lucy and little Miss Culpepper. Shouldn't think we'll see her again, Emma said darkly. She picked up the tin opener, but her eyes went back several times to the electric beater with its corkscrew attachment, and we'll pause there.